Hello, beautiful reflections of me, and welcome to another episode of 97.3 WWJD, What Would Jessa Do? And in this very special episode, we are talking with Ann O, who is a coach and is a neurodivergent mom with a neurodivergent child. And she is helping us understand how to overcome the difficulties that are with that, and using sound to and movement to overcome those challenges and heal. So Anne, tell us a little bit about yourself and your daughter and how you learned about her diagnosis and that turning point when your daughter started getting her diagnosis and you realized, okay, I have to do my own healing if I'm going to show up the way she needs.
Yeah, you just nailed it. I had to do my own healing in order to be able to show up for her. So yeah, I totally get it. So I'm Anne, and yeah, my daughter is neurodivergent. We started getting her diagnoses around the age of 14-ish. And it
Which
came
is
in
pretty
through the.
late diagnosis, right? Because
Yep.
usually it's a lot earlier, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we're told that it is common that the girls don't show it as much as quick as the boys because they tend to lack the hyper side of it. So back when she got diagnosed, she was ADD, not ADHD, because she didn't have the hyper deficit aspect. And that's why girls tend to get diagnosed later. They do get diagnosed with the hyperactive as well. I'm hyperactive. I've never been diagnosed, but I wouldn't be shocked if I'm on that spectrum. But yeah, so we started getting the diagnosis at 14. So she was assessed through the school system because she's always been super quiet. So we pass it off to be shy. There's family members that are shy. So you just pass it off to be something you logically know. And it was in the diagnosis when she was 14 that she had the ADD, select mutism, and the high social anxiety, which triggered the select mutism. So at that time, I was still working a very high stress job. My husband's working, and it was done through the school. So the school provided us the supports that we needed at the time. But with that support, there wasn't a ton of education, but more or less, okay, let's focus on her. What does she need in school? So that's what we did. And there wasn't much more beyond that. So as a parent, we still were not showing up as our best selves to help support her. We were doing the best we could, working that busy lifestyle, that busy schedule. And it wasn't until later my job became so slow that it was getting really, really slow. So they were starting to do layoffs. And I went to my manager. I said, look, if you're looking to lay people off, I'm putting my hand up. And she's
That's
like,
a
why?
first.
Yeah, it's not common, but I didn't love my job. I didn't love the environment. There were so many aspects of it I didn't love. And it was very high stress. It was very high demand, and I could feel it taking a huge toll. So I was like, put my hand up, and she's like, no, that's not going to happen. Well, a month later it happened, and it was a relief because then I was already starting to dive into the coaching aspect, then learning myself and healing myself at this stage. But it was during this time that my daughter got her autism diagnosis again through the school. So it was a series of events where she took a deep dive, caused a whole ripple effect of calling the mental health lines, learning. And as I was on the phone with this woman on the mental health line here in our province, so I'm in Alberta, Canada, she says to me, has your daughter ever been tested for autism? And I was like, no. But she did ask me a couple years ago prior to that if I thought she was autistic. And I'm like, no, because my limited knowledge of autistic is people who have high sensory overloads, whether it be in touch, sound, speech, taste, but you can see autistic people, in my mind, my limited knowledge, people that are autistic struggling to fit into society because of these high sensory overloads. Well, that is such a small piece of it. And I didn't know. So she had done her own research and she kind of diagnosed herself, asking me what I thought. Well, she had more knowledge than I did at that point. So I'm like, no. But as I'm talking to this woman on the mental health line, she's like, has she ever been tested for autism? And I'm like, no, but she's asked me if I thought she was on the spectrum. And as she started to describe a high functioning autistic individual, she nailed her personality to a T. And I didn't even give her any in-depth other than that whole situation that unfolded that led me to calling them to begin with. And that was her wanting to tap out of this world because it's overwhelming. So as she's describing the high functioning autistic, my jaw dropped, and it was her. And I said, okay, so how do we go about finding out? Like, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
So here in Canada, and I'm sure it's the same in the United States and probably many other countries, there's a backlog in the medical system and in the health system, especially mental health. And because at that time she was 17, they said she still falls under a child. So I'd have to technically, if they were going to diagnose her as a child, she'd have to go through the children's hospital, through the emergency section,
That's
which
crazy.
just made no sense to me.
Yeah.
And there's a long wait list. So she said, because she's 17, when she hits 18, she's considered an adult. They may take her as an adult and your wait list may be shorter. So call a specific hospital that's local to us and ask them, let them know what's going on and ask them if they can diagnose her as an adult. Well, I did that, and their wait list for adults was 7 years.
Wow.
I was like, this shit is not happening. Excuse my language.
Yeah, I was
like,
thinking, I was like, how can an adult one be longer? Because it's so much harder to get diagnosed as an adult and yeah.
So that leads me to question, because I never did check if the child's wait list is longer. That's scary.
Yeah.
So I was like,
They
this
could be
shit ain't
adults by
happening.
the time they get off the list.
100%. So I was like, this is not happening. So here locally, people refer to our healthcare system as free. It's not free. We pay taxes for it. So I thought, you know what? I'm not doing this. Even to get in to see my local doctor was 5 months. So I'm like, I'm not waiting. So I called the psychologist that did her assessment when she was 14 with the ADD, high social anxiety, and the select mutism. And she said, call the school system, call your principal. And I was like, well, what are they going to do? She said, well, there's so much that's covered through the school system in assessments. And she said, they can tell you, or at least help you navigate which way to go and what's next. I said, okay, fine. So I did that. And they got me connected through the school system. And I could have paid privately $2,500 to $3,000 to have her assessed privately, and got in within weeks. And it took about a month to get the assessment back, but plus or minus. But I ended up going through the school system, and she was diagnosed that summer. So this would have been May. So by July, we had an appointment for her assessment.
Wow.
And she was diagnosed before she finished out the school, like when she started the next school year. So that's how we ended up getting the diagnosis. But because I was no longer in that stressful environment, I was able to be now in a position, and I had already done a bunch of healing, that I was now in a position to be able to dive deeper into the education of it now and understand how can I better support her. Because I learned through the autistic community and places that are here for resources, they're tapped. They're tapped as well because of all the diagnosis. So it's hard to get anybody to talk to. And the websites are hundreds of pages of reading information. I'm like, I don't have that kind of time. So I like to talk to people. I have specific questions about her specific needs. So diving into that, I noticed because of her age, there's a huge gap. There's tons of resources if you're a child. But if you're in that bracket where you're hovering between child and adult, you're in limbo.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with mental health to the point where what started the whole diagnosis was tapping out. I was like, this is not okay. So I started, like, I'm that parent that's that bull moose. Like, look out when you give me a roadblock, I'll find a way to bust through it. So I started hammering, and I started diving into different meetings, different groups on Facebook, and I started learning, and I started seeing the different challenges. And I thought, oh my God, like, this is crazy. It shouldn't be this hard, because there's so much of society that is dealing with this now. Like there's so many diagnoses now, and the spectrum just keeps getting broader and broader. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to start a group on Facebook. And I did that, called the Empowered Pathways. It's not grown fast, which is fine. But I was like, you know what? I want people to come together that want to help each other. Because a lot of the groups that I jumped into, there's a lot of posts of people struggling, but there's not a lot of posts of, wanting
Giving
to
back.
support each other. Yeah, there's no support. It's just validating the negative behavior, the negative feelings, or the negative, like it's just one person after another validating the negativity. And it's like, you know what? This doesn't have to be all negative. So it can be a positive thing, but we have to learn how to navigate in what's working for her. She's
So,
not me, she's not my husband, and she sees things differently and processes things differently. So navigating that looks different.
So, we talked about how the overactive mind and being constantly busy, and how stress had you in survival mode, and what finally got you to pause. But now I'd like to talk about using sound as support. You told me you used guided meditations, frequency music, anything that helped your nervous system slow down. I especially want to highlight that some people meditate in silence, but for others, especially neurodivergent minds, sound is what calms them. So what helped
Right.
that breakthrough, and what what helped you understand that?
Right. So it was through my own personal development and own healing that I learned, through actually Tony Robbins training, that physiology is a key piece to our nervous system and our overall energy and attitudes as we go forward in life and throughout our day. Like, breaks it down to daily activities. So what we do first thing in the morning can really impact our day. And physiology is a key piece, not just moving the body, but just the sound, the music can shift all of that in an instant, like instantly. So
Absolutely.
that's where I learned the physiology piece. So for me, it was the guided meditations, because like I couldn't stop this. I couldn't slow this down. And I'm thinking, I was that person that would say, I can't meditate because my mind is too busy. And it was
Yeah, I was one of those
it would,
people
yeah,
for a long time too.
it took me 2 years of keeping up with it steady to be able to tap into silent meditations. Couldn't
Mm.
do it prior to, but I had to stick with it fairly consistently for 2 years. Most people would have given up, but I heard Dr. Joe say there's no such thing as a bad meditation, so I refused to give up. And it was needing to learn that this busy mind is a hyperactive nervous system.
Mhm.
When you calm the nervous system, the mind calms. And it
And
wasn't
you get
until
out of
all the
fight and flight, and
yes, that's the only way you're ever going to be able to get to silent meditations, is starting with the nervous system. Well, the fastest way to change the nervous system is through music and movement, literally in an instant.
yeah.
You can play your most favorite song and it can shift you out of the negative thought processes, the whole negative move, because there's no room really. At the end of the day, when you think about the human body, we are nothing but emotions and energy. So if emotions drive our energy and we're in a negative emotion, you can't be negative and happy at the same time. Your nervous system, your body has to choose one or the other. Well, if you play your most favorite song, upbeat song, and one of mine is Justin Timberlake, like You Can't Stop the Feeling. There's
Mhm.
a lot of them, right? But even just meditation music, like I literally have YouTubes that I've texted myself. So I text myself guided
Mhm.
meditations that I find online, and some of them are frequency music, some of them are talking with some soft music in the background, some of them are just flat out talking, no music. And but it's that frequency, it's the music, and it's
It's the
playing that.
sound.
Yes, because it's a sensory. We
Yeah.
taste, we taste, we smell, we hear, and all of it can calm your nervous system. People overeat because it helps calm their nervous system, you
Right.
know? So all of it can impact our nervous system. So if you think of somebody that may have had their house burned down, the smell of something burning is a trigger. It's going to set off that positive or negative emotion. So
Right.
sound is the same thing. So music, frequencies, guided people talking in your ears is always to calm your nervous system. And it's through movement, getting the body moving with it, doubles the impact.
Have you had any experience with using music for your daughter specifically to like help with um the things that she's struggling with?
Yeah. So when it comes to her, because she's at that, you know, teenager stage of,
Mhm.
bucking what mom does,
Yep.
I let her find her own thing, and she's into the K-pop. So she
Mm,
loves watching TV and listening to Korean TV
mm,
shows and Korean music. So she literally will spend time listening to the Korean music and or the Korean shows. So that's what helps her calm her nervous system. So we've allowed her to really search out, navigate what she loves, and then we support her by providing it and helping her get her hands on what it is that she loves. Because that's one thing that is different from most other people is you take people with ADHD and even autism, they're not motivated like typical people. They're not motivated by, a title. They're not motivated by money. They're
mm,
motivated mostly by doing what they love because their nervous system is so finicky and fidgety that it takes one bad incident to turn you off of all incidences that are similar. So
mm,
for my daughter, we were doing hypnosis for a while and she had a negative experience, turned her off all hypnosis.
mm,
So we have to now work twice as hard to help her understand and have her body trust that not all hypnosis is bad. And she's, to be able to open her up. Because when you think about that, when you have a negative experience and that closes that whole experience down on you, your world can get very small very quickly. So as
yeah.
she ages, that can be very traumatic if we don't allow her to learn to open up and take another leap of faith, take another piece of trust. It could, she's an early, young, well, I call her a young adult now. She's still in her teens. So when you look at relationships, if she has one bad relationship, that could shut her down from opening up to any other relationship going forward. Well, as a human, we have a natural need for connection. That's going to close that world in very quickly if we don't help support her to open it back up.
Yeah, and imagine if like there was a song or a show that set her off and then she doesn't listen to anything anymore. Like sound
Mhm.
can be very powerful and it can be misused. So,
Right.
can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Tony Robbins and that how how he talks about the music shift, how music shifts energy instantly? Because we touched on it briefly, but I want to understand how Tony Robbins was a leader for you and helped you find that path.
Yes. So every event that he holds, it doesn't matter if it's an hour long or if it's multiple days of multiple hours. He literally has upbeat music and he makes you get up and move your body and dance around to the music. And when you
Mhm.
first attend one of his events and you've never been to one, you feel like this is like freaking weird. Like, but he'll make you yell, he'll make you jump, he'll make you dance, he'll make you move your body to music throughout increments of his events. So obviously the shorter events, he doesn't do it a whole lot, but his full day events, there are multiple breaks of get up and move your body. And the reason he does that is that he studied the science behind our neurological systems. And when we are placed in a classroom, whether it be virtual or live, and we're rushing in traffic, we're getting there, we're doing whatever, or you're doing your housework, you sit down at a meeting at your computer, your energy has been this way. By getting the body up and moving, your energy goes from this, you're triggering the nervous system so it opens up. So you're jumping from here to here in energy level. And when our system rises with the movement and with the sound, it our attention span opens up. When our attention spans opens up and then they start teaching, we absorb more. So we're actually learning more because of that state than what we would if we were to just sit down and just start learning.
Because you're in
And
that receptive state, that receptive area for sound,
it's all energy. So we're
Yeah.
constantly throughout the day triggering the nervous system to wake up from the plateau. And when we do that, naturally, we pay closer attention and we absorb more. Look
Right.
at schools. Like schools are a prime example. Like when they get into senior high, they get to pick their programs. And if they don't have a gym class, then they're like this all day. So by the time the end of the school day finishes, they're exhausted, they're tapped.
Mm.
Like she would literally fall asleep in the car on the way home every single day because not only does she have the challenge of managing this plateau, it's a
Mhm.
lot deep. Like she deep dives in because the energy levels are different for her, as you know. So she
Mhm.
drains faster than the average person. So if you
Right.
take an average person going to work at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, working at this rate, we have a dive at about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like we crash.
Mhm.
Well, you take somebody who's neurodivergent and ADHD, they're crashing faster and harder because their nervous system is on hyperdrives, which drains the energy. And when you don't have anything to shock that nervous system, this drives you down further than the average person. So for music and sound and being able to use it to a positive advantage is massively impactful, not
Yeah.
just for people who are ADHD and autistic, but even for neurotypicals.
Yeah.
So even school, coming home at the end of the day, you're exhausted. But imagine before you start every class, if you started upbeat music and
Yeah.
moving your body and doing something different to trigger the nervous system, imagine how much more those kids, all kids, would
My
be absorbing.
my science teacher, not science, sorry, Spanish teacher would have us stand up and sing songs in Spanish that like we should know in English, and he would make up all these cute songs with like, and he'd have us stand up and like, yeah, so
Oh,
but
yeah,
one of the things I was going to say is my mom would drive when we would go to and from school, we would blast our favorite music and just like
yeah,
come in, roll up, and just it's a
yeah,
party on the way to
yeah,
school and a party after, and it helped us get back into ourselves and
yeah.
realign. And
Yeah. And she
but
may or may not even realize what she was doing to help you at the time.
exactly, I don't think she did, but we do it all the time now to manifest and stuff. Um so can you tell us a little bit about your routine now, the meditation, breath work, journaling, movement, and the difference you feel when you skip it?
Yeah, I feel a huge difference. Routine is massive for me. And it's funny because as a coach and jumping into my own business, I started learning, like diving into coaching and diving into business so I could navigate. And one thing that I did learn, and Tony Robbins teaches it too, and so do a lot of other people that are well known in the industry, will tell you success leaves clues. People that are successful mimic what they're doing. They've already paved the way. So your way doesn't have to be so bumpy if you just mimic what they do. And almost anyone who knows anyone has a routine every single morning. So when you look at the successful people, Tony Robbins, again, for example, he says if you're just starting off and you're jumping into a routine, if you have to, bring in your footwear and have your clothes ready first thing in the morning so that when you wake up and you sit on the edge of your bed, you're triggered to get dressed, get the shoes on, and get outside and start walking. If it's winter, then have something available inside that you can do to move your body. But instantly, as soon as you get out of bed, start moving your body. So for
Mm.
me, I don't actually have that specific routine, but my routine, I get up, and because my husband works, I sit with him for the first half hour. And then when he leaves, that's when my routine starts. So I will actually start with meditation. And with the meditation is breath work, is the sound. And then I'll do what Tony Robbins refers to as priming. I've actually created my own that works best for me, but it's a technique of breathing. So for me, I actually do a breath in and a breath out. It's called the Brahma method, but you breathe in, hands up, and when you breathe out, it's hands down. So you literally go all through the nose. And see, that shocks the nervous system. So you do that in sets of 10 or 3 sets of 10. So when you do that and then you calm in between and you actually think about, okay, what are 3 things you're grateful for in the first set? And then you do it again. And then, okay, what are 3 outcomes that you want in your life in the next 30 days, in the next 6 months, in the next year? And then when you do your last one, you just literally calm and you sit in both gratitude of what it is you're grateful for and that outcome, and you embody it. You embody it like you feel like it's already here. And then when I'm done all of that, I'll actually journal it. So I'm writing it out so it embeds. And then I start my physical routine. And then I
That's
get on with
awesome.
my day. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really struggled for a long time to have a routine. And then someone told me that it's not necessary, because I struggled because I was like, I do something different every day, like it's not like I don't, there's nothing that I do the same every day. And it was really hard for me because I was like, I don't know how to have a routine. And then it just kind of naturally happened one day. I just started doing the same thing every morning. I would wake up, go to the bathroom, take a shower, and get dressed. And then I would have my coffee, and then I would eat. And it's not that much of a routine, but it's something that I couldn't do those at not the same time. It's not even the same time. It's the doing them in the order until it's complete, and even if you add things to it, it's nice to be able to have structure in the morning, especially because it sets the tune for your whole day. So
Yeah.
can you tell me um, anything you noticed in your daughter or other neurodiverse people in your life around how music, routine, and sound supported them specifically emotionally?
Yeah, so one thing that I've noticed in it is as a pattern is that when they find something that they love in music or in sound, it calms the nervous system almost every time. And
Mhm.
that allows the whole body to have a reset. And with that reset, you're able to function and process better than you would without it. So,
Mhm.
like you say, as ADHD people, they tend to have challenges with routine. They have struggle with structure. But one thing I noticed is if it's an external structure, like school starts at 8 o'clock and it's them getting their kids to school, they can manage that because that's a hardcore structure. But yet they
Mhm.
still struggle with their own structure. Well, that's nothing
Mhm.
more than a mindset shift. Make your own personal stuff a non-negotiable structure,
Mhm.
and then your mind can process sticking to it. And being able to add music to that allows you to be able to breathe and process and implement that easier and better than what you could without it. Because without it, you're starting off with the chaos. Your nervous system's here.
Yeah.
It's just plateaued. So with the jump or the shock of the nervous system, and even for me, like my routines, I got to mix them up a little bit because it becomes so routine. You no longer have the emotional attachment. So I'll
Mhm.
keep the structure of the routine, but I might change the music. My guided meditation and my priming, I may shift it a little bit from the meditation and do the priming first and then meditate. But overall, that structure stays similar, and it keeps shocking the nervous system. It's when it becomes such a routine that you're now plateauing and you're not getting anything from it. You need to jolt it and mix it up a little bit. So it's keeping the structure of the routine and mixing up what's inside of it to be able to keep your nervous system and your mind active to the purpose of what you're doing.
Right. Well, for anyone who wants to work with you or find more about you, how can people learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, and if you notice, I've got my company name on the bottom there. It's Dynamic Living Lifestyles. I have my business page under that. My name is Ann Oickle, Oickle. So my personal page is there. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I also have my own website, and that's probably the best way to connect with me. So the website is dynamicliving.ca. not .com.ca. So
Okay.
just the www.dynamicliving.ca. And then you'll be able to contact me through the contact forms and whatnot on my website. You'll be able to scroll through, see what I've got going on, and connect any way you want. There's free resources there. There's courses in there. And there's, like I say, there's just different ways you can connect if you want to really connect with me. And I've got communities and groups up as well. So all of that stuff is on the website. So you can join a community. You can join the free Facebook group if you're navigating special needs. And yeah, there's tons of ways.
Awesome. Well, I will have you send me those links and we can include them in the Spotify description and the comments on Facebook. So
Excellent. Awesome. Sounds
yeah,
good.
well, I appreciate your time so much, Anne,
Thank
and
you.
I'm grateful for all of your advice. And I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time on 97.3 WWJD. What would Jessa do? Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.